Yo, what's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. This is Mav, and this is Fun Speculation. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun talking about some craziness that happened last night. The reason I wanted to do this stream today, this impromptu one, is because tomorrow we got the Game Awards, and tomorrow we have PM in the PM, and it's a special episode of PM in the PM because of the Game Awards. And there was major stuff that happened last night, and honestly I don't know how much time we're going to be able to give it justice because of all the stuff that's going to be happening tomorrow. So we got some crazy stuff. Like, I mean, this ABK thing is getting pretty feisty, I would say. Xbox is swinging their bat right now, using their muscle, and also making PlayStation look pretty bad in the process. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, I want to say thank you to anybody who joins the stream, anybody who joins later, anybody who watches this content when it's not live. I appreciate each and every single one of you, as always. You guys rock. You help make the community go, and they make it possible for me to keep doing this stuff, which is amazing. So appreciate you guys. What's up to Outbreak Podcast? What's up, Dave? What's up, WhySoSerious? What's up, Dova360, Valorian, DeathLordStrong? How's it going, everybody? Yo, Drawn TJ with the $5 super chat says, hell yeah, you are live. Yeah, somebody's got to be live with this right now, right? I mean, like, it came in late last night around, I mean, we were streaming Halo Infinite custom matches last night. And somebody I think it was Louis, just read that when we were streaming. It was like close to the second to last game. I was like, what? Wow, they are really coming out strong. Now, the thing is, there's really no surprises, except for the fact that they went ahead and made agreements. Now, we're going to get into some of the tweets that were made last night, some of how this puts pressure on PlayStation. And is this the home run that Xbox needed to secure in order to convince these regulators that they really have no ground to stand on, convince PlayStation that they have no ground to stand on? I think it might be. So Blackheart, how's it going? Yeah, this is a pretty big topic. So before we get started with everything, I do want to remind everybody that this channel is sponsored by manscaped.com. So if you use code FUNSPECULATION at manscaped.com, you do receive 20% off on your order, plus you get free shipping. Yeah, it's 20% off and free shipping with the code FUNSPECULATION at manscaped.com. So that's a good deal. White elephant gifts and are funny if you give people ball deodorant, right? Stuff like that. But for serious, good products and everything. So yeah, manscaped.com, 20% off there with the code FUNSPECULATION. All right, let's get into some stuff. And channel members, again, I appreciate you as well. Everybody who supports this channel, and whether you stop by for a second, hit the like button, share it out, sub to the channel, all that kind of stuff. Shane, what up? It says, wow, surprise stream. Let Sony have it, Mav. Yeah, we're going to be some of that. Sub Gavlar, Phil dropping the hammer, Valorian. Yeah, crickets this morning on the podcast front. I had some time here. I'm going to be going out back to work here in about maybe 2 hours or so. I don't know how long the stream's going to go. Depends on how juicy things get. But there were some juicy tweets last night and including today, including stuff that even Gabe Newell chimed in. And I think Gabe Newell actually threw some shots. So, what's up, Pong? Yo, what's up, dude? Yeah, man. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait, bro. Tomorrow we may not have enough time to really dive deep into this too much. So I'm gonna bring up first off, we'll start with the big boss. Mr. Phil Spencer himself, and look at what he had to say last night. All right, so I'm gonna bring this up. Big Phil's tweet. Microsoft has entered into a 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo, following the merger of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King. Microsoft is committed to helping bring more games to more people, however they choose to play. Goes on to say, I'm also pleased to confirm that Microsoft has committed to continue to offer Call of Duty on Steam simultaneously to Xbox after we have closed the merger with Activision Blizzard King. This is pretty big, right? Now we'll start with Phil, and then we'll move on to Brad Smith. Then we'll move on to Gabe Newell as well. Sub J Vargas, how's it going? RSJ, how's it going? Valorian, everybody. Vik The CLiCK, what's up, dude? Everybody here hanging out. This is a pretty damn big deal, in my opinion, because part of Sony's argument this entire time, part of their bullshit, weak ass argument this entire time, when they've been crying to regulators, crying about this deal, as they should, to try and protect their bottom line, but it's the arguments that they chose were horrible. They still have yet to accept defeat, I think, in this. They're still going to be trying to cry and figure out a way to move the goalpost, as a lot of their fan base does as well. I think that this is important because part of Sony's weak-ass argument has been that they don't trust Microsoft, that they are going to put these games multi-plat. They are going to put Call of Duty multi-platform. And really, what Sony cares about is Call of Duty, right? The other games, ABK does, they're not necessarily worried about those. They keep talking about Call of Duty. The regulators keep talking about Call of Duty. Even the regulators using the words like my PlayStation. Call of Duty will be on my PlayStation. You know, they're working to ensure that. So, you know, PlayStation's been coming out saying, well, we don't believe Microsoft. They could do whatever they want after they close this deal. We don't believe them. Xbox has been saying all along, we plan to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. We plan to treat it like we do Minecraft. All of this, right? And they're like, we don't believe them. I mean, they could do whatever they after the deal closes. Who's to hold their feet to the fire, right? This is putting it in paper with two of Microsoft's competitors. That's Nintendo, and that is Steam. Yes, Steam is technically a competitor of Microsoft because Xbox and Microsoft have their own PC store. They have their own game store on PC as well. They've chosen already to put their games on Steam, so that's not a surprise. Gabe Newell chimes in on this later as well. And his response was fucking amazing. His response was really amazing. Because what Microsoft is doing here is saying, look, we're going to bring it to Nintendo. We even gave them an agreement for 10 whole years. 10 years. 10 years for Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't even have Call of Duty now. So now you have, in a brilliant move, you have an agreement put in place where the regulators now have to make a decision between Nintendo and PlayStation. Whose consumers do they want to screw more? Because Sony's fake ass worry that Call of Duty is going to leave PlayStation is irrelevant at this point, because now you have Nintendo, which has an equally large user base that could be getting that game if this deal goes through. So who's more important, Nintendo fans or PlayStation fans? Regulators can't make that decision. And Microsoft's going in and saying, we're going to put it on both. They've already guaranteed that. Plus, they're committed to also bringing it in the future to Steam as well, which it's already been on Steam this past game. I don't remember if Vanguard was on Steam as well. But recently, Call of Duty's been on Steam. Microsoft's doubling down and guaranteeing that, yes, they're going to, because it was brought up in the regulators that, well, they could also make it exclusive to their PC store and not put it on Steam if they wanted to. Well, they're already guaranteeing that as well. They even sent an agreement to Gabe Newell, which he had an amazing response to. And I still can't wait to get to that, because he throws shots at Sony here, which is amazing. But Microsoft throwing the gauntlet. Hey, more proving the fact that more gamers are going to get Call of Duty than currently, if this deal goes through. So now the regulators got to decide, well, are the Sony fan base more important than everybody else, but also Microsoft saying they're still going to put it on Sony. So what? So Microsoft's offered you a 10-year deal and you're not willing to talk? What's going on, Sony? Or why are you acting like this is not like they're going to make it exclusive? Why are you lying to us? You know, because you're making us look bad at this point. You're making us look bad, Sony. You're making the regulators look bad, Sony, because we chose your argument to move to phase 2 with. So we chose your argument because we didn't know any better. We were trying to use it to grandstand and posture and you know, make our case to move this deal that should have been easily passed into phase 2, which we were going to do all along, no matter what. We chose your argument, and Sony, that's all you can come up with? Your argument sucks. You're making us look bad. This makes the FTC look bad. This makes the CMA look bad. It makes the EU look bad, and it makes Sony look bad. Microsoft with a major check move here. It's not checkmate till the deal's done, but this is a check. This is a check here. I gave Xbox lots of shit yesterday for the $70 games thing, but this was a brilliant move today. This is like, and yeah, people were already criticizing, well, it's weird energy to bring this news out at midnight or whatever. The deal involved Nintendo and Japan. Of course, we were operating on their schedule. That's not weird. Microsoft just put them in their place. Now, let's get even to some more juicy stuff. I'm going to bring up Brad Smith, who is the president of Microsoft. And he has some interesting things to say as well. Absolutely awesome. And he had come out and had an op-ed on, I can't remember, it was Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, or one of these sites. I can't remember which one it was. And he compared PlayStation's unwillingness to move with technology in the times to Blockbuster, which I don't know if that was honestly the right move, because Blockbuster pretty much no longer exists. And you're trying to like compare PlayStation to Blockbuster, saying they're unwilling to like look and innovate, right? Which is absolutely hilarious, which is true. I think PlayStation is doing more than what Blockbuster did, obviously. They're just being drug along with this. But Brad Smith had this to say, which was absolutely classic. Absolutely classic. He says, our acquisition will bring Call of Duty to more gamers and more platforms than ever before. That's good for competition and good for consumers. Doubling down, and they got the proof in the pudding now with an agreement. Thank you, Nintendo. Any day Sony wants to sit down and talk, well, we'll be happy to hammer out a 10-year deal for PlayStation as well. Come to the table, PlayStation. That's all they're asking. Hey, come to the table. We'll make sure you get your COD. That's all we're talking. If you're worried about it, we'll put it on paper. Come to the table and meet. Are we going to sign something, a forever agreement, a perpetuity agreement? No, that's crazy. We don't even know if you're going to have a PS6, because if you don't innovate and you don't move forward with the times, maybe there won't be one. So we can't give you a forever agreement. We'll give you a 10-year agreement, which is way beyond what most people do. It's absolutely crazy. 10 years, 10-year agreement to keep bringing your Call of Duty, the game that you so desperately apparently need, to your platform. Why not say yes? The regulators would tell you to say yes, I would think, on that deal. I mean, that's not even guaranteed to be on PlayStation today without this agreement. Like, they can't have a 10-year deal in place currently. That's even probably a better deal than they got right now. The only thing they don't want, the only thing Sony doesn't want, is they don't want Call of Duty to be on Game Pass. They don't want Call of Duty to be on Game Pass because guess what? People are going to buy Xboxes for Game Pass. People are going to subscribe to Game Pass for Call of Duty. And guess what? PlayStation loses their imaging and their brand recognition with Call of Duty, which was fake as hell all along, just like it was with Destiny originally. And you remember when they bought Destiny and they bought Bungie? It was to ensure the fact that that doesn't happen with that game and the future Bungie titles. They got to make sure they keep that fake ass brand recognition to Sony, and people, casuals, not even knowing that it's on Xbox. They got to keep that a reality because they got to keep those exclusive content. They got to keep the early releases. They got to keep the closed betas. They got to keep all that stuff. They got to make sure that that stays with Sony on the whatever Bungie makes in the future, because they're going to lose that shit on Call of Duty. Absolutely going to lose it on Call of Duty. And that has them scared shitless because people that don't know any better buy a PlayStation for COD. They just assume that it's a PlayStation thing. Not anymore. And in fact, I would go on to say that damage has already been done, because to the casuals, people that just watch TV or whatever, a lot of people know that Xbox is in talks to buy Activision Blizzard, or that they have acquired them, and then it's waiting approval from all the regulators that, Call of Duty is not exclusive. It's actually never been exclusive except way back in the day on Xbox. What? Brad Smith, again, our acquisition will bring Call of Duty to more gamers and more platforms than ever before. That's good for competition and good for consumers. Thank you, Nintendo. Any day Sony wants to sit down and talk, we'll be happy to hammer out a 10-year deal for PlayStation as well. Come to the table. Let's go, Sony. John TJ hit us with another $5 super chat. Says they announced it last night because today they met with FTC. Yes, supposedly Brad Smith was maybe going to be meeting with Lena Khan of the FTC today. And I think this is important for them to have hammered those out ahead of time. So that's a good call out as well, because you can bring more proof to the meeting. You have more proof of the pudding of everything you've been saying you're standing behind. First, it was with the labor unions. And now guess what? Even ZeniMax has a 300-person labor union voting to potentially become a union there. It's like, I think some QA testers at ZeniMax. Microsoft staying neutral. Even the CWA comes out and says that, hey, that is cool of Microsoft. They're actually standing behind their word. We 100% think that the ABK deal should be done. Absolutely amazing there. Now, all right, let's talk about what Gabe Newell had to say. Now, I saw this on a retweet, I think, so I don't know if he tweeted it out himself. I gotta go look. All right, so yeah, this isn't. Is this actually Gabe Newell's Twitter? I gotta see. Yeah, I don't think this is actually Gabe Newell's Twitter account. I gotta find this tweet that dropped earlier today. I think it was in one of our DMs. Okay, let's see here. Bear with me, guys. I think actually I had retweeted it or something, so I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, here we go. Found it. This one is my favorite thing I've seen today. This is my favorite thing. Sub Justin, how's it going? Oh, I'll check that, Pong. Thanks, dude. Check this out, guys. I'm gonna bring the screen bigger because this is amazing. Hold on. Let me make sure you can see this whole thing. The Gabe Newell shooting shots at PlayStation here. So I'm gonna read this to you. We're happy that Microsoft wants to continue using Steam to reach customers with Call of Duty when their Activision acquisition closes. Microsoft has been on Steam for a long time, and we take it as a signal that they are happy with gamers' reception to that and the work we are doing. Our job is to keep building valuable features for not only Microsoft, but all Steam customers and partners. Microsoft offered, this is where it gets good, okay? Microsoft offered and even sent us a draft agreement for a long-term Call of Duty commitment but it wasn't necessary for us. This is good. Because A, we're not believers in requiring any partner to have an agreement that locks them to shipping games on Steam into the distant future. That is a direct shot at Sony. That is a direct shot. We're not believers in requiring any partner to have an agreement that locks them to shipping games on Steam into the distant future. B, Phil and the games team at Microsoft have always followed through on what they told us they would do, so we trust their intentions. And, which is also another shot, which is big also for them, the regulators, when they're looking at this and saying, well, are they lying? You know, how can we trust them? You have a direct competitor here to Microsoft's PC storefront saying that we trust them, and they've actually, you know, followed through with everything they've been telling us for a while now. And, you know, we wouldn't ask for a long-term agreement from anybody for something like that. C, we think Microsoft has all the motivation they need to be on the platforms and devices where Call of Duty customers want to be. This is also important because that was the language used from Bungie during the when Bungie got acquired by Sony, that they're going to keep putting the games where the players are. Microsoft has been saying this all along with Call of Duty, and it's been used as like, well, we don't believe you because of Elder Scrolls and stuff like that in the past, right? But we think Microsoft has all the motivation they need to be on the platforms and devices where Call of Duty customers want to be. That is strong. Strong from Gabe. That is mightily strong. That, I mean, he's taking direct shots at Sony, who is also putting games on Steam. He's saying, he's basically saying, like, that's ridiculous that they're asking for that. You remember when Gabe was like, said that Xbox was the best console this generation? Like, when it asked, like, on live, like, it was on, I don't remember what channel it was. This was on live, it's on some news network. And he was directly asked, so what's better, Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5? And he was like, Series X. This is so funny. Yeah, Gabe is an ex-Microsoft guy, but he has no, like, allegiance to Microsoft. No allegiance here to Microsoft. He's just calling out BS in the industry. He's a straight shooter. Gabe's always been a straight shooter. Absolutely amazing to see gaming Jesus come out like this and and say these things, taking these direct shots. It's amazing. Couple more super chats. $5 super chat from John TJ says Sony had just cornered themselves. They will become like Sega and EA as a publisher. No PS6. I agree with King David. Maybe another $2 super chat from John TJ. Sony messed around and found out. And another $2 super chat from John TJ says keep up the amazing content. I appreciate you, John TJ. Appreciate everybody here hanging out. Yeah, that was brutal, guys. I mean, that is like, yo, Sony, what are you trying to block this deal for? You're stupid. You're making yourself look bad. You're making the game industry look bad. You're making us all look bad. What are you doing? Stop. I mean, you got Nintendo on board. Nintendo customers now going to get Call of Duty. The regulators have to weigh that into their decision. Because guess what happens? Guess what happens? If you don't approve this deal, you're fucking over Nintendo customers now. And there's no guarantee about Steam also, because it hasn't been a long-term thing that Call of Duty has been on Steam. You could potentially be fucking over the Steam customers as well. So as regulator, you're like, okay, well, I mean, they're already putting their money in their like pen and paper what they've been saying. So how can we not believe them? PlayStation has already lost the argument that has been their number one argument all along, that they don't trust Microsoft to follow through on their word. They can't go around and say that anymore. They can't say we don't trust Microsoft. They can't say that. If they do, they look bad. Because you even have, not only do you have pen to paper, but you also have industry leaders Gabe Newell, who runs a direct competitor storefront to Microsoft's game store on PC, coming out and saying he trusts them, he believes what they're saying. And they have a proven track record with that, of being a partner of theirs. Sony cannot win this argument. They know, FTC knows that they would lose this in court. They're trying to get whatever concessions they have. People have been saying, well, they've been putting the feet to the fire. This is why Microsoft's doing this stuff. Microsoft was going to put their Call of Duty on Steam and Nintendo and PlayStation all along. A long time ago, we said when PlayStation and the regulators all made this about Call of Duty, it was checkmate for Microsoft, because that's the easiest concession you can possibly make. That was something they were going to do from the start. If you make, it's like played it masterfully. Microsoft's been ahead of the game this whole time. First, they were ahead of the game with the first responses that came out from Democratic senators talking about labor and bad for labor force and games and video games, bad for work force and gaming, bad for employees and stuff like that. Well, guess what? Then Microsoft gets the support from the number one labor union, like one of the number one labor unions out there, also allowing in big tech unions to be formed within their organizations and stuff and within their companies. That is crazy. They already did that. Now they've also again proven that they are going to abide by that, by what's happening with the other day with ZeniMax. And by CWA actually making a tweet about it the other day. Hogue Laws was calling this a PR blitz. It is a PR blitz, but it's a fantastic one. Absolutely being used to the full extent right now to put pressure on the FTC, CMA, EU. I mean, will all of them just approve it 100%? Maybe not. Who knows? I think FTC will. I think the EU will. CMA, they've been really weird. It's hard to say what the CMA is thinking. They just are just doing whatever they want, it seems like. And if the CMA were to actually not approve this or let this deal go through, Microsoft, like many have been saying out there, could just decide, well, we'll just not put Call of Duty and Game Pass in the UK, and that would make their customers very unhappy there, and that would make people very unhappy at the CMA in the UK. So that's another bad. That would be bad, right? I mean, they can't do that. You would think, well, if they did, they would end up having to overturn it in a few years. Deccaddo says, considering Gabe's history with Microsoft, I don't think there can be a more glowing review of Xbox, Mav. Yeah. I mean, he did have a history of Microsoft. Not a great one. Psycho says the ABK deal brings unions into the tech industry, and if Microsoft opens the door for all of Xbox to be unionized, they're going to acquire amazing talent from across the gaming industry. That's a fair point, too. That is a very fair point, too, because if people are looking for a good workplace environment, which Microsoft wins time and time again, awards for workplace environments and all these different things. I said they still got work to do in all these different situations. You know, that is a very good point there, Psycho. So the CMA, the EU, and the FTC, in my opinion, are have the pressure fully put on them now. If they challenge and block this deal, they are screwing over consumers, screwing over employees, for the sake of political posturing, political grandstanding, trying to just put your stamp on something for the sake of it because it's a big deal. So at what point are the consumers and the employees that work for these companies more important than your own political position? More important than you saving face? More important than you trying to make a statement about big tech? At what point are the consumers and the employees more important than your own self agendas? That's the question they had to ask themselves right now. And I think they're having a tough time realizing right now because they realize how bad they're going to look. You still have some people out there, well, Microsoft just can't be allowed to buy everything, and then they're just going to take all the content, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to buy everything. They just need to buy enough content to get into freaking Game Pass. There are so many publishers and developers out there, and you have new ones showing up every year. This is not an industry that's shortchanged on devs, on creative studios, on publishers. There's not like there's 3 publishers out there. Yeah, there's a few major publishers, but even some of the smaller ones are growing astronomically. This is a worldwide industry. This is something where you have talent coming from places that have never even been really big in the business before. Devs from India, Korea, China, all making games now and putting them out there for the world. Publishers growing like crazy. Embracer Group a few years ago, nobody even heard of them. Now they're one of the biggest publishers out there. They got publishers upon publishers underneath Embracer Group. It's absolutely crazy. You can't say that Xbox is going to buy everybody. And even an ex-PlayStation executive, oh God, I wish it was a Jack Tritton, I think it was, said that he thinks it'd be a fine thing because ABK being acquired by Microsoft would just leave a gap for somebody else to fill. What's the problem? There is no problem. Let the deal go through. So Microsoft wants. That's what the gamers for the majority want. There was a poll from Bloomberg that said, should Microsoft be allowed to purchase Activision Blizzard? It was like 81% yes. 81% yes. People don't want to see this deal fail. You look at the market share out there too. It's like crazy to say that much because you would think that it's like, well, there's more PlayStation gamers than there are Xbox potentially or whatever. So how are that many people voting yes? Because guess what? They are not stupid. They actually think this is a good deal for gaming. They want Call of Duty and Game Pass. Nintendo gamers want to be able to play Call of Duty if they want. There's no reason besides self agendas to even posture on this deal, to make a case about it. I think they're getting close to sealing the deal on this thing, at least with the FTC. And I think that's going to put pressure on the other two regulatory bodies. And we're going to see what happens here. But it's been very noisy and very loud the last couple days. That means this negotiation, this is happening strong. And will Sony come to the table? Or will Sony keep putting their heads in the sand? Because I'll tell you what, people are not going to forget this. I don't know. I won't. This has been a crazy year. Now, are people going to be mad at Sony? No. But Sony used to be the name that like stood behind this quality and just confidence, you know, and they're coming across like they're scared, like they're weak, hypocritical. Even their own fans calling them out that they're lying out the ass. It's a bad look. I think it's tarnishing their brand a little bit right now. I really do. Now, will they save face if they come out with some more games and good games and stuff? Yes. But I think they're doing more damage to themselves right now than they would have if they just actually let this deal go through. Because they look weak. And people say, well, you know, the casuals don't really pay attention to this stuff, and you're right. But this stuff permeates. All it takes is a moment a moment in time to really kill a brand and to hurt a brand. You remember This Is How You Share Games? Remember This Is How You Share Games? When PlayStation annihilated Xbox at E3 that year. Not only with that, they also got $100 lower in the price point, and they also won the power narrative. Xbox is winning the power. They're winning the price point. And this is a bad look for Sony. If they lose the cool card, the cool factor, you know, that's a wrap. Not only that, the value speaks. Money speaks. And there's a reason why Xbox won this holiday at retail. People are getting more accepting of going out there and buying an Xbox or a Series X or Series S. Taking advantage of those good deals. Looking at it and be like, okay. $250. Or as we talked about the other couple weeks ago, you were going to be able to get a Series S for the value of $187.50 at Target at Black Friday. Absolutely insane. People are more okay with that. Well, I have a PlayStation. I can just get this. It's like $250, 300. It'll go back up to 300 eventually, but $300 as a second console. $500 for the more powerful one. It's a little cheaper than the $550 bundle PlayStation's making me buy. Yeah, I think Xbox is just killing it. They had a stumble yesterday with their $70 games, but something they're going to get away with, just like everybody else in the industry did. Xbox is coming back strong, big time. I still think Series S has a chance to be the number one selling console this gen. Let me get to that DM, Pong. I'm interested in what this says. Frank X. Shaw. All right. He said, waking up this morning in DC, smiley face. Who is that? It's currently lead communications for Microsoft, owner. Okay, yeah. So he lead communications for Microsoft. And he goes on to also say Sony declined comment. So I want to bring up also this Bloomberg article here. This is from Dina Bass. Who's been writing about this. She actually goes and says, Microsoft signs a 10-year Call of Duty deal with Nintendo on the eve of its meeting with the U.S. FTC to make its final case in favor of the Activision deal. That goes to what Psycho was saying. She goes on to say Microsoft's offered a similar deal to Sony, but they haven't accepted. Phil Spencer isn't mincing words about that. Phil says, from where we sit, it's clear they're spending more time with the regulators than they are with us to try and get this deal done, he said in an interview. Wow. Strong words. Bloomberg, again. Now, they're just reporting on it. But I say this is strong. I mean, do you guys, I want to see in the chat, do you guys think that what happened last night going into today is helping Microsoft's case? Do you think that they have backed PlayStation into a corner? Is PlayStation looking like stupid right now? Is PlayStation looking like their arguments are weak? I think so. I want to know what you guys think. And if you're watching this later after the fact, leave a comment. Is PlayStation looking weak and like they have no ground to stand on right now? Is the pressure been put on? Wouldn't it be crazy if so much pressure got put on that the FTC and all these things just said, yeah, we'll pass it, and then Microsoft never gives that 10-year agreement? without PlayStation ever because they never came to the table? Wouldn't that have been crazy if Nintendo got a 10-year agreement and Steam got a 10-year agreement, but PlayStation didn't because they were being babies with their heads in the sand? Vik says PlayStation backed themselves into a wall. This has been a chess match between Microsoft and Sony all along, and Microsoft has been 10 steps ahead of the game, playing them like fools. Playing PlayStation like fools. Playing Gem like fools. You're making this about Call of Duty, you morons? That's the easiest thing. Again, we were always going to put it on your dumb platform. Why are you crying? You don't believe us? That's bullshit. You just don't want us to put it in Game Pass. Or you want to get the deal blocked. You want to see if you can get it blocked. Doing damage to their brain, in my opinion, in the process. John Teaser with another $5 super chat says, they have, and it's a boss move. I say the deal finished in January. Sony looking like petulant children right now, Brian says. Dova360 says, PlayStation acted like they had the power, but it was just an illusion. Andy B says, Sony is looking like they simply don't want more of any competition at all. What's up, Patman? How's it going, dude? If WhySoSerious ask, what's Sony's comeback to this? That's a good question. Google Post says PS digging themselves in their own grave. It's bad. I got that same. I was wondering earlier, WhySoSerious, because guess what? It's your move, Sony. We got check on you right now. What's your move? What's something you're gonna pull out of your ass right now to try and make this look bad, to make us look like we're lying when we got Nintendo and Steam on board? What's your move? You can't use Apple or Google. They have a duopoly on the app stores on mobile. We're trying to compete with them. You can't use them. What's your move? What's your move, Sony? Like, you got to move because we've been offering you a 10-year deal. You want to take it or don't you? I mean, we've been telling everybody we want to put your game on your platform. You're acting like you don't believe us. But now we got agreements with Nintendo and Steam, and then even the Steam CEO, president, whatever his title is, Gabe, owner of Steam, Valve, coming out and saying, we believe Microsoft, they've held up to their agreements with us, and anybody asking for long-term agreements is pretty much dumb. That's like, we don't even need it, but they sent it to us anyway. Your move, Sony, what is it? What can you possibly manufacture now that's going to potentially make us look bad when you're sitting there quivering and because you don't want Game Pass to exist? Is it because you're losing market share right now, even without our games coming out, Sony? Is that what it is? Is it because, guess what, last generation you were like 2 to 3 to 1, or maybe even more in some territories, and now this generation it's more like 60-40? Is that what it is? I did the math. 58% to 42% this generation, just about so far. And that gap might be closing. It closed quite a bit on Black Friday, this holiday season. And after this ABK deal, do you think that gap's going to close even more? You can say, well, yeah, Sony's still in the lead. But if you're losing market share, that's not good. You don't go when you're trying to grow and say that the console audience isn't even enough for you anymore, trying to go to PC, you're trying to do these other things, actually even losing your market share on your console. You don't have all these alternatives like Microsoft does right now. You don't have this whole cloud infrastructure where you can play anywhere you want to type thing going on right now. You don't have all of your games hitting PC day one right now. You don't have a subscription service that stands toe-to-toe with Xbox right now, because guess what? You're not putting your games on there day one. You don't have all these things. So you're still relying heavily on your box. And guess what? On the hardware side, you're still losing market share, and we haven't even dropped any games in this year. We've only had some smaller titles this year from the first party. What happens next year after the ABK deal closes? And we have Diablo hitting. We have Call of Duty content hitting. We have all these other things hitting. You're going to lose market share. You're going to lose even more, and you're going to lose even more, and you're going to lose even more. And it's not because of the ABK deal. It's because you rested on your laurels and you're afraid of innovation, just like Blockbuster was. Just like Blockbuster was. That's why Brad Smith says that. Too late to the table. They better sign this 10-year deal. Because if they don't, maybe it's only 5. And when PlayStation becomes irrelevant, Microsoft stops putting their games on that platform. It's possible. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But if Sony doesn't get with the game, money speaks, value speaks. Paul says, sup, Mav. Hopefully Brad Smith exiting the FTC building with a big smile on his face. Yeah, I mean, he's got that confident swagger right now. They're coming out aggressive. They're calling out Sony on their BS. And it's so interesting on this deal to have a $70 billion acquisition. And the comments coming from the companies that are actually being purchased and purchasing are not even really addressing regulators as much as they're addressing the one complainant, the one challenger. Because guess what? The entire industry is okay with this deal moving forward, except for Sony. And Sony's just being petty, and they've been crying, using their leverage, knowing that there was always going to be a phase 2 to try and get what they can. But you ain't getting Xbox to agree not to put COD on Game Pass. That's not going to happen, Sony. Maybe you could weasel your way into getting Call of Duty on PS Plus as well. Maybe. But guess what? There's only a few million subscribers to PS Plus already. Is that going to help you at that much? Because you're not even putting your own damn games in there. You're not even putting your own games in there. They bought Destiny. That's not in there still. GT7 came out several months back. It's not in there. Hopefully soon. When are their first party games going to drop into the PS Plus? What's the point of signing up to PS Plus Extra? You can't use your inflated PS Plus numbers because PS Plus Essential is always been the same as what the regular PS Plus was before. That's like saying Xbox Live Gold numbers. If Xbox included and just changed the wording of Xbox Live Gold to Game Pass Essentials, and then they could say Game Pass users has like 100 million subscribers. That's the same thing that Sony tried to pull with the PS Plus. And they only have about 3 million plus extra users probably, because they only had about 3 million, I think, PS Now subs, or maybe 5. It may have been 5. But guess what? Even their latest financial said they're still bleeding subscriptions. They're still losing users. What's up, Brian? Noobs and Pros says they're going to have to think about day one drops on PC and their service now. They've already been thinking about that. They're just dragging their feet. They're just dragging their feet because they're stuck halfway in the old world and half in the new. They're getting all the infrastructure ready to move forward with the same models that Xbox has been pushing forward because guess what? The technology is there to do it. Look at all the acquisitions PlayStation's been making. They've been making acquisitions of PC port companies that make ports of games, companies that make like remasters and remakes of games and ports of games. They've been buying mobile game companies and all these things. PlayStation's moving in that direction too. But they're not diving in enough. They're not diving in. They're like they're toe in the water and it's cold and they don't like it. They're afraid to jump in. They're afraid to jump into the pool. You know how many subs they would have gotten if God of War Ragnarok dropped in that service day one? You know how many more sales they would have got if that dropped on PC also? Also, if you had the cross save system and you had all these different things going on, you know how much more money they would have made? Crazy. People say, well, no, they would have lost sales on God of War. Yeah, but what they get in return is recurring revenue month to month, millions of subscribers, millions, knowing that the next Sony banger is going to be in there also. Maybe they can't launch their service and do day-and-date games yet because they don't have any games for 2023. Maybe they got only Spider-Man 2, and they can't say that's enough to fulfill a full year, and they don't want to pay all this money to third parties to put their games in there like Xbox does. I think they will get the subs if they push it. They got the brand recognition. They just got to spend the money and do it. Put their money where their mouth is. Because if you don't, Blockbuster. Microsoft's changing the game. We've said this for years. Ever since Game Pass started and they started putting their games day and date, especially when they started putting third-party games day and date, that was a game changer. It's like, man, this is different. You know, Outriders didn't hit, but when they announced Outriders day one, Game Pass, and then MLB The Show day one with Game Pass, I mean, these were pretty big games, you know, and that's not even Microsoft games. And then now you have all these like other games now hitting, and it's crazy. You got Monster Hunter Rise hitting Game Pass in January. First time on consoles other than Nintendo. It's going to have 120 frames per second, 4K. You think it's not going to get them some subs? It absolutely will. It's going to be crazy. Sony's got to do this. They got to do that. They got to put their games on PC sooner, or if not day and date. They gotta get with the times here. And guess what? They're gonna need to acquire studios to make it all work, which they already have been, and they're gonna keep doing it, just like Microsoft has. Cameron Larson says, "I do see Microsoft will acquire Electronic Arts next." To be honest, I wouldn't be that crazy. I mean, like EA has been shopping for partners. The interesting thing with EA was. And maybe they were going to get bought out by Microsoft if Activision Blizzard didn't come along. Who knows? But EA has been shopping for partners. They've been looking for mergers. It's been public that they've done this. They've been negotiating with different companies. But nothing is closed because EA wanted to remain in control. The thing about Microsoft, that would maybe make a fit for them because they would be able to remain in control and still maintain their identity and be their own publisher within Microsoft. Possible, but could you imagine? Oh, if that happened, you would have Battlefield and Call of Duty. Like, you would have Battlefield and Call of Duty and Halo. Yeah, I mean, that might be too much at that point, right? Like, Call of Duty, Halo, and Battlefield if they bought EA. Not only that, you'd have Vince Zampella as like one of the best developers in the world to run a lot of your operations and make amazing games. Yeah, I mean that would be like that would be like too much to ask. I think that would be like a monopoly on first-person shooters for sure. Not that they won't pretty much already have that anyway. Talking about Call of Duty and Halo, I mean. Yeah, I mean, that's a joke. I mean, obviously, there's way more first-person shooters out there. DS Omen with the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Says, assuming the ABK deal goes through, what would Microsoft have to buy for you to think is too much for the industry? That's a good question. I don't think a lot of us want them to buy everything. I would say that one more decent-sized publisher and a couple small studios would be fine. After that, I say you're good, right? And it depends, right? Because it depends on what other people do as well. My thing, like what I would like to see happen, because I think that this company needs potentially better direction, and they also need to get bought out by somebody. And maybe they are going to. Rumors are. I would like to see Microsoft get WB Discovery instead of them going to Universal, which is a rumor that as soon as they can be sold, they're going to be sold to Universal. I would like to see Microsoft get WB Discovery, because not just for the gaming side, but you would add another level of value with entertainment to potential subscription services where you have HBO Max, or what they're going to be calling it, potentially Max, with the Discovery Plus is going to be included with that. But you also have something that the gamers want, right? You check a lot of boxes there, and fill a lot of needs with the types of games that you're going to be able to create. Plus, you also get brand recognition with the DC universe and everything that you can throw out there. You can have another platform to put your shows for your other games like Gears and Halo and all these other things, instead of having to make deals with outside partners as well. So I personally would like to see Microsoft go more into entertainment besides just the gaming side and do WB Discovery. I think it would make a lot of sense. I don't know if they have the taste for that. If they do, that's what I would love to see. And that would be more than just a gaming move. Yeah, they would get a few big studios with that, but it wouldn't be like ABK, you know? Also, other smaller studios, I want to see them close the deal with Certain Affinity, because there's been a support studio for a lot of the games that they will be owning at that point. Also, maybe look for some more talent in Japan or something. And if they didn't do WB Discovery, I say one big Japanese publisher, or decent sized Japanese publisher. If Sony really gets petty all the way through with this, you just say F you Sony and you go buy Square Enix just to say F you, or you go and you try and do some kind of a deal with maybe a smaller publisher in the East somewhere. I don't know. That's what I would say. And after that, I don't think you need more publishers. I think maybe you just go with some individual developers that fill needs here and there. And I don't think anybody should ever complain about something like that, right? Yeah, Square Enix is a mess, right? Hot mess right now, Jay. Yeah, I hear you. Drawn TJ, $5 super chat says, I sent the link. Hogue Law's live right now, so you can watch it later. Appreciate that, dude. Yeah, Hogue's been great. He's been having awesome content throughout this whole ABK thing. And I mean, this, like he had been saying, this was a PR blitz, right? This was a PR move from Microsoft, but I think it's a strong one. And I think it's a strong chess move, and I think they got check on it. What's up, Reggie Lee? How's it going, dude? Everybody, thank you for tuning into this stream. I appreciate you all. I like I said before, we got the Game Awards tomorrow, and we're gonna have a special edition of PM and the PM. A lot of the Fun Speculation family is gonna be on that show, and we're gonna be watching the Game Awards. We're gonna do our whole co-stream. We're gonna do a pre-show. We're gonna do the live show when we're watching it all together, and then a post-show and all that stuff. So I didn't think there was a good opportunity for us to talk about this too much. So I had a little while to be able to go live now. So that's why I did this. And I appreciate everybody who just tunes into these impromptu streams, without a lot of announcement or a lot of regular scheduling and stuff like that. That means a lot to me. This community is amazing. Yeah, the Game Awards is tomorrow. Yes. Game Awards is tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that the awards themselves don't matter to me, but I would say, guys, and I want to know what you think about this. If Psycho says Crystal Dynamics could be sold to Xbox, some of those Crystal D, maybe Eidos Montreal. Yeah. I want to know what you guys think about this real quick. At the Game Awards, right? I feel like Xbox announced a $70 price tag yesterday to get ahead of the Game Awards, because the Game Awards are Thursday, and usually you don't release bad news on a Monday. So there's one of two reasons they would release bad news on a Monday. It had something to do with the timing of the ABK and this meeting later in the week, or it had something to do with these agreements they're going to announce today, and they realize they're going to have good news today with Nintendo and Steam and everything. Or it had to do with the fact they're going to have these release dates at the Game Awards with pre-orders a hit. And I don't know which ones. Like, if you have announced a $70 price tag on a Monday, and let's say you don't want the conversation to be about $70 on Thursday when you actually show the game again, I think Redfall gets a release date. I think Redfall gets the pre-orders are back live or whatever with the new price tag. and all of that as well. For January, maybe potentially. I think that maybe even more than one release date. If the games really are within 12 months, I think potentially you could see more than one release date there at the Game Awards. And who knows what else is going to be there. Vik The CLiCK hit us with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you as always, Vic. Says, so if Microsoft owns HBO, technically they own The Last of Us, the show. That is a fantastic point. I don't know who would own the rights to the show. I think HBO has the like broadcasting rights or whatever. I don't know how it works. I don't know how the licensing works with all that between Sony and HBO. But yes, that would be insane. The Last of Us show, if with Game Pass. So yeah, Wilfrey Rosario, we are live streaming the Game Awards tomorrow. Drawn TJ with a $5 super chat says, drop the bag and get all Sega games and future games day one in Game Pass, including the PC games on Xbox. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think would be too much? I mean, after this, they will have had the regular studios. Remember, they had started acquiring studios. They had gotten like the 6 or more. I can't remember. But they originally went from like 6 to like 13 or whatever. And then you got ZeniMax Bethesda, which ballooned that up to like 23, roughly. And then now with ABK, you got all those studios. And then plus you got Blizzard, which Blizzard like counts as one studio. But you're talking about like 10,000 employees there or some crazy number like that, with several different groups. They have different locations and they make lots of different games at the same time. So Blizzard, I think, like should count for like 5. I don't know. I mean, they would do Overwatch. They got the World of Warcraft stuff. They got team working on that new survival game. They got Hearthstone. They got Diablo team. Then they got some other stuff they're supposedly working on. Maybe talking about bringing StarCraft back. So you're talking about quite a bit of talent there, quite a bit of developers. Then you got Activision side, which everybody's pretty much on Call of Duty, but you got like, I forget how many studios. We got like High Moon, Beanox, Toys for Bob, Treyarch, Infinity Ward. You got Sledgehammer. There's a few more there with Activision too. And they're all capable of making good games. All of them are. A Raven Software as well. You got long time talent there. And that doesn't even include a lot of these other devs that they've had, like that came with Bethesda that we don't know what they're working on. Also, like id and also before they got In Exile. I mean, it's crazy. There's so much games coming out that we've yet to even see released from some of the acquisitions that they've made. Yeah, Psycho says, bad news first, then drop good news to overshadow the bad. The DeathLordStrong says, Redfall October release date. I know, Mav. You're like, no way. Yeah, October for next year. No, that game is done. The only reason would be if like you wanted to hold it because like October is the creepy month, where everybody gets like Halloween stuff and stuff like that. But they said within the next 12 months. Rumors are that game is done and it's potentially going to be released sooner than expected. I think that could be why the $70 thing happened yesterday, so that way they can get in front of that. And why would they increase $70 and why would they announce that? It could be a combination of the things. It could also be because if they do sign a concession, they won't go up on game prices once the deal is complete. They need to go up on them now because they may be saying that, like, and I think it was Infinite Umbra that said this, and he made a good point also, because Call of Duty is going to be 70, right? And they're not going to probably bring that price down. So they're bringing their games up to match those prices. And they want that to be the status quo, which I'm not a fan of. I think they could have done 60 across the board and that would be fine. And they would be completely fine with that. I think they were being a little greedy there, just taking the money that's on the table that the rest of the industry has proven people are willing to pay. It is what it is at this point. I ranted a lot about it yesterday, but I think that's partly what's going on with that. So we'll see. Yeah, I want to know, like, what do you guys think would be too much? That was a great question. What do you guys think would be too much? Where does Microsoft stop? Right? Like, if Microsoft gets ABK, at what point do they need to stop before it becomes too much? I think a lot of us were thinking around 50 studios. I think they need to have around 50 studios. Like Galveston says buying Sony. Buying Sony's too much. Right. Steam. Yeah. Regulators might not like that. But it's a private company, isn't it? Isn't Steam private? So, like, could they even say anything to that? I don't think they can. I guess not. Like, I think Microsoft could buy Steam probably if Steam wanted to, if Gabe Newell wanted to sell it. Paul says buy Asobo, IO Interactive, and Avalanche, and done. IO Interactive would be a good one. They're making big strides and taking a big step up, doing multiple big games right now. They got the James Bond game coming. They supposedly have a game, Project Dragon, working with Microsoft. That's the biggest thing they've ever done. Avalanche would be Contraband, right? They're working on with them on that right now, so that would make a lot of sense. Asobo, they have a great relationship with, and they got a 10-year like development deal with them for Flight Sim. So, John TJ with a $5 super chat says, I think EA or WB or Ubisoft and then 12 small studios. EA or WB or Ubisoft and then 12 small studios. Maybe. I know that they're looking in the East. We also know that they tried to buy Capcom before. So who knows what deal they could make with somebody? Is there a Japanese publisher willing to sell to Microsoft? DS Omen says, well, what happens if Amazon or Apple buys Sony? Then it's just not enough for Microsoft. Right. So Sony, people say we're crazy when they bring this up, but their market cap is at a place where they are starting to get more attractive to buyers, right? And if you did want to make a play for Sony, if you're an Amazon or an Apple or something like that, they could be reaching that stage. Now, who would it make sense for? Like Apple makes hardware, right? And they're more of a closed ecosystem environment. I don't know, like, because when you buy a Sony, you're buying a lot more than just PlayStation, right? Whatever company acquires them would it have to make sense for them for more than just PlayStation, because you got all the TVs and all these different things. Amazon, you could make a case because they could brand all of their TVs and stuff. You could have like, the whole Fire Stick thing. You could have a whole collaboration between Amazon Prime and Amazon Fire and all these different things with Sony. So you could potentially like see a reasoning there as well. Sony's doing a bunch of different things and involve a bunch of different stuff. PlayStation's their biggest profit generator. PlayStation's their biggest moneymaker. Gaming wise, it would immediately put Amazon and Apple, either one of those, into the hardware space for gaming. The danger is how much taste or experience do they have with that, and do they want to really be too involved with it? So it's interesting. You never know, right? You never know. It depends on if they see the value there. Capcom would be incredible, but unlikely. Yeah, Capcom would be insane. If Xbox got Capcom, you already have a relationship of exclusive games with Capcom. You have Dead Rising and you have Lost Planet. You also have this deep library of fighting games. You have all this fighting game talent. You got Street Fighter, all these different things. You got Resident Evil as well would come along for that. So yeah, I mean that would be insane. Capcom, I mean Mega Man. There's so many classic Castlevania. I think isn't Castlevania Capcom? Am I wrong on that? Or is Castlevania Bandai Namco? No, I think Castlevania is Capcom, isn't it? You got Dino Crisis. You got so much classic IP with Capcom. It's absolutely insane. Konami. Thank you, guys. Shit. Yes, I was wrong. Konami. Thank you. Appreciate it. I was wrong. My bad. Konami. Oh, you go get Konami. Why not? Let's go get Konami. Like it's interesting to think about all the possibilities of that can make. I forget about Konami so much because they like have been non-existent for so long, really. I mean, they had Metal Gears, and once Hideo Kojima broke up with them, kind of, and they had that falling out. Konami's been like non-existent for the most part. They're making a big play back though. They got Silent Hill coming out, and all the Silent Hill stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, thanks guys for correcting me on that. I'm trying to remember what all is Capcom. Capcom has so many titles, so much classic IP. I think it'd be a good move if they got them, but I don't know if Capcom would be possible. I think Sega is massive. I don't think that could happen though. It might be a long shot. They have a close partnership with them. Capcom could be feasible. Konami even could be feasible. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen next? It'll be interesting once the ABK deal's done though, because the shackles will come off. They will be unleashed finally to do some moves that they've been wanting to make. DSLM says it's pretty clear to me that they would buy Sega, Yakuza, Persona. It's already in Game Pass. Potentially, yeah. I think Sega would make a lot of sense if they could pull it off. It would give them that instant Eastern brand recognition also. But yeah, it's amazing that you guys all turned out for this stream. I appreciate you guys. I do got to go out to work, so I will be heading out here, and make sure you tune in to our Game Awards co-stream tomorrow. We'll be going live. I'll share everything out on Twitter, put it in the Discord, and everything like that as well. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for everybody hanging out. You all rock. Love this community, and I can't wait to see what happens next with this, because Xbox came out firing. Phil came out firing. Brad Smith came out firing. Even Gabe Newell came out firing. And we're going to see what's Sony's move. What's Sony's move? But peace out, everybody. Have a good one. Take it easy.